The heartbroken princess of the River clan, in the heart of a lush Nigerian forest, along the banks of a shimmering river, lay the village of the River clan. This village, tucked away from the bustling world beyond the trees, was home to a people who held a deep reverence for the river that sustained them. They believed it was a powerful entity, a guardian that watched over them and blessed them with fish, fertile soil, and rain. And no one embodied this bond more than Princess Adaeze. Princess Adaeze, the cherished daughter of Chief Emeka, was known for her kindness and gentle spirit. From a young age, she would walk to the river's edge, listening to the soft murmur of the waters and gathering herbs for her clan. Her attire was distinct, vibrant, flowing Igbo garments adorned with beads of coral and bracelets of cowries. Her head was wrapped in a cloth of deep, earthy colors that reflected the forest and the river she loved. Her laughter was light and musical, echoing across the village like a song, and the villagers would smile at the sight of her. For Adaeze, the river was more than just water, it was her confidant, her sanctuary, and in moments of sorrow, her comfort. She felt the river's embrace and heard its whispers in her heart, as though it were alive and understood her. Her father, Chief Emeka, a proud and stern man, had ruled the River clan for many years. He was a man who valued tradition above all else. For tradition kept their clan strong and honorable. Emeka wore the garb of a chief, a robe adorned with symbols of his people, with a feathered crown on his head and a chieftain's staff that never left his side. He loved Adaeze deeply, yet he was cautious about her wandering ways. He often warned her about the boundaries she must observe, the sacred lines that kept them safe from danger and disgrace, but Adaeze's spirit was wild and free, like the river itself. She was drawn to the forest, to the mysteries beyond the boundaries, most of all, to the river, where she felt an ancient presence watching over her, guiding her. One evening, as the sun dipped below the trees and painted the river a warm golden hue, Adaeze went to gather herbs by the water's edge. The village was quieting, with smoke rising from cooking fires and elders seated in circles, telling stories of old. Adaeze hummed softly as she picked her herbs, the melody of an old folk song drifting through the air. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes caught her attention. She looked up, her hands full of green leaves, and saw a figure emerging from the forest, a tall, young man with the look of a hunter. His skin was dark like the rich soil, and his gaze was warm, yet wary. He wore simple clothing, practical for one who walked the forest paths, with a spear slung over his shoulder and a woven sack hanging at his side. Adaeze stood frozen, unsure whether to speak or to flee, but the young man smiled and raised a hand in greeting. He bowed slightly, respectful and humble. "Good evening, princess," he said, his voice low and steady. "I am Obi, a hunter from the neighboring clan." Adaeze returned his greeting, her curiosity overcoming her caution. She had heard stories of the hunters from the neighboring clan, fierce warriors who lived beyond the river's reach. They were known to be skilled and brave, yet their clan had long been separated from hers by a history of feuds and mistrust. "Are you not afraid to be here?" she asked, glancing over her shoulder, half expecting to see her father's guards or the elders watching. Obi shrugged. "I walk the forest in peace, and I mean no harm. I saw you here, by the river, and I could not help but come closer." There was something sincere in his voice, a gentleness that surprised her. They talked, first in hesitant words and then in laughter, each drawn to the other's warmth and spirit. Obi told her of his hunts, the thrill of tracking animals in the dense forest, and the reverence his people held for the land. Adaeze, in turn, spoke of the river and the peace it brought her. As they talked, the world around them faded away, and they were simply two souls bound by a shared love of the forest and the river. Days turned into weeks, and their meetings became a ritual. Each evening, as the sun began to set, they would meet by the river, hidden from the eyes of the clan. Their friendship grew deeper. And with each meeting, they felt their hearts pulled closer together. They laughed, shared stories, and sometimes simply sat in silence, watching the river flow past them, yet, Adaeze felt a shadow over their happiness, a quiet whisper of caution in her heart. She knew the boundaries her father had set, and she understood the dangers of crossing them. But with Obi, she felt a freedom she had never known, and her heart urged her to follow this new path, wherever it might lead. One night, as the moon rose high in the sky and cast a silvery glow on the river, Obi took her hand. "Adaeze," he said softly, "I know the risks we take each time we meet. I know the laws that bind us to our clans. But my heart has chosen you, and I cannot turn away." Adaeze looked into his eyes, her heart pounding. She felt the same pull, a force greater than herself, binding her to him, but even as she held his gaze, the river began to ripple, and a chill filled the air. A voice, soft and ancient, rose from the water, "Adaeze." It whispered, like the rustling of reeds in the wind. She gasped, looking towards the river, where a faint glow was beginning to form. A figure emerged from the water, tall and graceful, its features blurred and shifting like the currents. The river spirit. Adaeze had heard its voice before, felt its presence, but never had it appeared before her like this. "Adaeze," the spirit said, its voice echoing through the stillness. "You walk a path of sorrow. Love across the waters will bring you nothing but heartache." Obi tightened his grip on her hand, but his face was troubled. Adaeze's heart ached with the weight of the spirit's warning, but her love for Obi was strong, stronger than the fear in her chest. "River spirit," she said, her voice steady, "I hear your warning, but I cannot turn away from him. My heart is bound to his. And I will bear the sorrow if it means I can be with him." The river spirit sighed, its form rippling like water in the moonlight. "So be it," it murmured. "But know that the river remembers all, and the sorrow you bring will not be yours alone." With those words, the spirit vanished, leaving Adaeze and Obi alone in the quiet night. The days passed, and Adaeze continued to meet Obi in secret, their love blossoming even as the weight of the river spirit warning pressed upon them. They dreamed of a life together, of a time when they could walk freely without fear or secrecy. Yet they knew that time would never come as long as the traditions of their clans held them apart, but fate had its way of revealing secrets. One evening, Chief Emeka noticed his daughter slipping away toward the river. Suspicion gnawed at him, for he had heard rumors of a hunter seen near the village. He followed her, silent as a shadow, his heart filled with dread. As he neared the river, he saw them, his daughter, the light of his life, holding hands with a young man from the rival clan. Rage boiled within him, and he stepped forward, his chieftain staff raised high. "Adaeze." He thundered, his voice echoing across the water. "What treachery is this?" The anger in Chief Emeka's voice cut through the peaceful evening like a blade. Adaeze and Obi pulled apart, each of them freezing in shock and fear. Emeka stepped forward, his face hard and unyielding, eyes dark with the betrayal he felt. Adaeze's heart hammered as she looked into her father's gaze, unable to speak. "What are you doing here, Adaeze?" Emeka's voice was low, his words laced with fury. "Consulting with a man from the enemy clan. Do you understand what this means? The dishonor you bring upon our people." Obi, still holding Adaeze's hand, raised his head and spoke with quiet bravery. "Chief Emeka, I mean your daughter no harm. My love for her is true, and I have no wish to bring dishonor to anyone. Our love transcends the boundaries set by our clans." Emeka's glare sharpened, and he clenched his staff tighter. "Love? You speak of love as if it is greater than duty. As if it gives you the right to break the sacred laws of our people. You are a hunter, boy, and she is a princess of the river clan. Her destiny is here, not with a stranger from across the river." Seemed unbearable. "I am sorry, father," she whispered. "But my love for Obi cannot be denied." Emeka's face darkened. "Then so be it," he declared. "From this day forth, you are forbidden to see this man. If you defy me, you will no longer be welcomed as my daughter, or as a princess of this clan. The words struck Adaeze like a blow. She could feel Obi's hand tightening around hers, grounding her even as her heart shattered. Emeka turned and stormed back toward the village, his chieftain staff marking his steps, his head held high in bitter pride. After that night, Chief Emeka forbade Adaeze from leaving the village unaccompanied. Guards were assigned to watch her movements. And her world, once filled with freedom and joy, became a prison. Days passed in sorrow, and Adaeze's spirit withered under her father's rule. She missed Obi terribly, and the memory of his face, his voice, haunted her every waking moment. She felt the weight of the river spirit warning pressing upon her, the words echoing in her mind, "The sorrow you bring will not be yours alone." Despite the guards, Adaeze found ways to slip away to the river at night, hoping that Obi would somehow find her. But each night, she sat alone, her heart aching in the silence. Her health began to fade, her once bright laughter gone, replaced by a quiet sadness that seemed to touch everyone in the village. Even Chief Emeka could not ignore the change in his daughter, though he remained firm in his decision. In the silence of his own heart, he felt the pull of regret, yet he told himself that he had acted in the best interest of his clan. Meanwhile, Obi had not forgotten Adaeze. Each day, he prayed to the spirit of his ancestors, seeking guidance. His heart was heavy with longing, but he knew he could not defy Chief Emeka's command without risking harm to her. One night, after hearing rumors of Adaeze's failing health, Obi made a decision. He gathered gifts, offerings of peace from his people, herbs, woven baskets, and a small carving of a dove. Under the cover of darkness, he crossed the river and approached Chief Emeka's hut, carrying the gifts as a symbol of his love and respect. Obi bowed low as he entered the hut, his heart racing. Chief Emeka looked up, his face a mask of calm, but his eyes betrayed his surprise. "What brings you here, hunter?" Emeka asked, his tone cold. "I come not to defy you, Chief Emeka," Obi said, his voice steady. "I come to ask for your blessing. My love for Adaeze is true, and I am willing to prove my loyalty to your clan, to uphold your ways, if you will let us be together." Emeka regarded him silently, his fingers tracing the chieftain's staff as he weighed Obi's words. For a moment, Obi thought he saw a flicker of compassion in the chief's eyes, but it quickly vanished. "My decision is final," Emeka replied. "Your presence here only serves to deepen the divide. Leave this place, and let Adaeze live her life in peace, without the turmoil you bring." Obi's heart sank. But he kept his head bowed, his voice barely a whisper. "Please, Chief Emeka. She suffers as much as I do. I cannot bear to see her in pain." Emeka's face tightened, and he pointed to the door. "Enough. Leave before my patience runs out." Obi nodded, his shoulders heavy with defeat, and left the hut without another word. As he crossed the river back to his clan, he felt the sting of rejection, a deep, aching sorrow that mirrored Adaeze. Days turned into weeks, and Adaeze's health continued to decline. She became a shadow of herself, her laughter and brightness replaced by a hollow sadness. The villagers began to whisper, blaming the curse of forbidden love for her suffering. One evening, when the guards were distracted, Adaeze managed to slip away to the river once more. The night was silent, the moon casting a soft glow over the water. She sat at the edge, her heart heavy with a painful clarity. As the river's gentle flow reflected the light of the stars, Adaeze felt the presence of the river spirit once more. "Adaeze." The spirit's voice was soft, filled with sadness. "You have suffered much for the path you chose. Are you ready to find peace?" Adaeze closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. She felt the weight of her love for Obi, the pain of her father's rejection, and the sorrow of a life bound by rules she could not change. "Yes," she whispered. "I am ready." Slowly, she stood, feeling the cool water lapping at her feet. The spirit's presence grew stronger, enveloping her in a warm, comforting embrace. She took a step into the river, her heart at peace for the first time in many months. As the water rose around her, she felt her spirit merging with the river, becoming one with the flow, the whispers, and the eternal presence of the spirit. And with a final, peaceful breath, Adaeze surrendered to the river's embrace. The next morning, the villagers found her woven scarf on the riverbank, a single delicate bracelet resting beside it. They mourned their beloved princess, and the river was silent, holding its secrets close. Chief Emeka was devastated. He sat alone by the river, his heart heavy with regret. His daughter's love for Obi had been pure, but his adherence to tradition had blinded him. In the quiet of his grief, he whispered her name, feeling the weight of his choices as the river flowed on, indifferent yet eternal. From that day forward, villagers claimed to hear Adaeze's voice in the river's whispers, a gentle reminder of the cost of unyielding pride. And Chief Emeka would often sit by the water's edge, listening, hoping to hear her laughter once more, forever haunted by the memory of the daughter he had lost.